Good evening. The June 8th meeting of the Evanston City Council will come to order. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Iles.
Here.
Councilmember Newsma.
Here.
Councilmember Burns is not here, will be remote today. Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Davis will also be remote today. Councilmember Rogers.
Here.
Councilmember Hadakatis.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly. Here. Councilmember Harris.
Present.
Mayor Biss.
Here, we have a quorum present in person and are prepared to do our work for the evening. The first item on the agenda is approval of virtual councilmember participation. The clerk and I are in receipt of messages from both Councilmembers Burns and Davis affirming their need to participate remotely pursuant to a statutorily permissible reason. Is there a motion to approve their virtual participation?
I move to approve their remote participation.
Second.
Councilmember Hadakatis moves to approve the virtual participation of Councilmembers Burns and Davis. Councilmember Harris seconds. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Iles.
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakatis.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
With 7 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries. And for the rest of the evening, Councilmembers Burns and Davis will be on the roll participating virtually. The next item on the agenda is my public announcements and proclamations, of which there are 3. The first is LGBTQ plus 1 Pride Month. There is no one here to accept this proclamation this evening, but particularly in light of the changing of some of the organizational structures and the suspension of some of the Pride activities that the community has come to really cherish, I wanted to make sure that we read this proclamation in full this evening and thank all in the community for their advocacy on this topic. Whereas the city of Evanston is a welcoming community committed to equality for all residents, and whereas 57 years ago, in June 1969, patrons and supporters of the Stonewall Inn in New York City staged an uprising to resist harassment and discriminatory laws and practices against the LGBTQ community. The riots and protests marked the beginning of the modern LGBTQ movement. And whereas the city of Evanston is dedicated to fostering acceptance of all its residents and preventing discrimination and bullying based on sexual orientation and gender identity. And whereas the city of Evanston is strengthened by the rich diversity of ethnic, cultural, racial, gender, and sexual identities of its residents, all of which contribute to the vibrant character of our city. And whereas nationwide 4 out of 10 LGBTQ youth say the community in which they live is not accepting of LGBTQ people. And LGBTQ youth are twice as likely as their peers to be physically assaulted. And whereas it is imperative that the young people of Evanston, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers, educators, and community leaders. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim the month of June 2026 as LGBTQ Pride Month in the city of Evanston. And I encourage all people to recognize the enduring efforts and ongoing contributions of the LGBTQ community within our city. Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would like to acknowledge this as a member of the LGBTQ plus community. We have seen so many of the rights rolled back in our area. As somebody who was there not in the original fight, but in the secondary fight, especially when HIV and AIDS came out, it reinforced a bunch of gender stereotypes, hatred against the community. It's very frustrating to see that all of those sorts of rights that we fought for are being rolled back. And with so many states now proclaiming Nuclear Family Month instead of Pride Months, it's very, very important, I think, that we continue to reinforce that message, especially to our youth, and let them know that, to quote the Trevor Project, it does get better.
Thank you for that. The next item is Evanston's Real Independence Freedom Day Juneteenth proclamation, and Kamon Hendricks, who has been one of the key architects behind the city's now beloved annual Juneteenth celebration and parade, is here to accept this. So thank you for all you do. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring enslaved people in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passage of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas word about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed some 2.5 years to June 19th, 1865, in reaching authorities and African Americans in the South and Southwestern United States. And whereas Emancipation Day observations are held on different days in different states in the South and Southwest and in other parts of the nation. And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas the annual Juneteenth celebration in the city of Evanston will take place Friday, June 19th at Arrington Lagoon at Dawes Park, with the Opals Walk for Freedom beginning at 10:30 a.m., followed by celebrations at noon. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth Day in the city of Evanston, and I urge all residents to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in African American history and in the heritage of our nation and our city. Now, if you could ask Ms. Hendricks to come forward and accept the proclamation, please.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Where should we stand? Up here.
All right, big smiles, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you. And if I could say a few words, thank you so much. Thank you, Daniel. So I hope everyone received my email inviting you all to be a VIP walker alongside the granddaughter of Juneteenth this year. I would just like to add that, Opal Lee, she was invited to the White House every year. She won the Medal of Freedom. We don't expect that to happen this year, right? So this is why it's so extremely important to uplift Juneteenth this year. And I'm just super excited to welcome her here in Evanston, her granddaughter. I'm sorry, not Opal Lee herself. She is turning 100 years old this year, so her granddaughter is taking the torch and carrying it forward, and she will be our Grand Marshal here in Evanston. And I just want to invite all of the media out for a press release at 9:30 a.m. on June 19th at the Dawes House, the Evanston History Center at the Dawes House. So I invite all the media out to come and, chat with the granddaughter of Juneteenth and then come walk with us. So thank you, Mayor Daniel Biss. Thank you to all the city council, city staff, Luke. Thank you so much. And I'm just excited. So thank you, guys.
And the final proclamation is in honor of Rabbi Andrea London, who's here together with her husband Danny and some friends to accept this proclamation. I had the pleasure of attending a celebration of Rabbi London's service in Evanston and at Beth Emmet a week or so ago. I've rarely seen so many people in one room in this town from so many different walks of life, celebrating not only your leadership of that congregation, but your leadership in this community, which has been really extraordinary, and through very, very difficult times, bringing people together across difference in ways that brings out the best in all of us in our community. I only agreed to do this proclamation when I was assured that even if I didn't, you would still quit. But I know you're not going far, and your example, I think, is followed by many in this community who are trying to do good and advocate for justice. So, whereas Evanston is a city shaped by many voices, many histories, and many paths to the sacred, and whereas for 25 years, Rabbi Andrea London has stood at the heart of this tapestry, a steady voice, a courageous teacher, a builder of bridges where others saw boundaries. And whereas Rabbi London has woven together communities of every faith, calling neighbors to stand shoulder to shoulder in the work of justice, to speak with moral clarity, and to recognize the divine spark in every human being. And whereas through interfaith coalitions that reach across sanctuaries, mosques, churches, and community halls, she's shown that shared purpose can rise above differences, that compassion can be a civic force, and that Evanston is strongest when its people walk forward together. And whereas her leadership has offered comfort in grief, courage in uncertainty, and inspiration in the long, unfinished work of repairing the world. And whereas Rabbi London now enters a new season, not an ending, but a widening horizon, carrying with her the gratitude of a city shaped by her presence. Now, therefore, I do hereby honor Rabbi Andrea London for her visionary interfaith leadership, her steadfast pursuit of justice, and the enduring light she has brought to our community. May her legacy continue to guide us toward understanding, compassion, and peace. And I would ask you to come forward and accept the proclamation.
Big smiles, 1, 2, and 3, and then another.
Thank you to Mayor Biss and the City Council for this recognition. Being a citizen here in the city of Evanston and having the opportunity to contribute to its vibrant diversity and culture has been one of the great privileges and honors of my life. And to receive this from the city that I love and care about so much is a tremendous honor. So thank you to all of you.
Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to add a few words of appreciation to what Mayor Biss has already said. I'm not a member of Beth Emmet for one reason, and that's because I'm not Jewish. But honorary member, thank you. And I live right down the street, so Rabbi London is my neighborhood rabbi. And I've gotten to know Rabbi London over the last few years and really appreciate the advice and counsel you've been able to provide me. If I had something I was thinking about and wanted to run by you, you were more than willing to join me for a cup of coffee. And I also appreciate the service that you and your congregation have provided to the community over the last few decades. And this was driven home to me at the Friday night Shabbat service a week and a half ago when that group of interfaith clergy came to say a few words and sang a few songs and acknowledged that Rabbi London was really considered a de facto member of the Second Baptist Church Choir. And Rabbi London's participation in the Interfaith Clergy Network is remarkable and exemplary, and that type of organization is one thing that really sets the city of Evanston apart. And it's due to people like Rabbi London that make that happen. So I wish you the best of luck in this next phase of your career. And if you wouldn't mind still being my rabbi, I'd appreciate being able to call you. Thank you.
Clerk Mendoza.
I also wanted to thank you for the service that you've provided to the community. I think I've known you since I was a teenager, and you're also a good mentor of my dear friend, Eliana. So I've also gotten to hear a lot about you and just the amazing mentorship you provide to other Jewish youth here in the community. So I've like just to see even my dear friend grow just because of your beautiful advice, but also getting to see you at many community events since I've been very young, and I've always really looked up to you and what you do in the community and just your ability to bring people together. I really appreciate that, and anytime I've seen you, you've always lended some type of good advice that I really carry on with me. But thank you so much for your service to our community and just everything you do. I hope other people just carry on your deep love and care and commitment, to our community. I hope other people do that as well. But thank you so much for everything you've provided to everyone. And I know you will continue to provide. Yes, thank you.
Let's thank and congratulate Rabbi London once more for a truly extraordinary service to our community. The next item on the agenda is the city manager's public announcements.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, City Clerk Mendoza. I have no announcements tonight.
The next item on the agenda is communications from the city clerk.
I also don't have any announcements today.
We now move to public comment. Public comment that will be relatively brief this evening, and so each commenter gets the full 3 minutes, beginning with Scott Roberts, who will be followed by Gabe Boyce.
Hello, City Council, Mayor. Gabe Weiss and I were going to be appearing at APW today to talk about bike lane safety until this weekend when an accident in Chicago was a tragic illustration of cyclists' worst fears. Bike activist Riley O'Neill, alumni of DePaul's Sustainable Urban Development Program, was killed while cycling in Chicago on Saturday. I sent you guys an article in case you haven't read about it before. He was riding south along the painted bike lane in the 3200 block of South Hall Street before 5 p.m. Friday, when a man exiting a white BMW hit him with his door, throwing O'Neill into traffic. He fell under the back wheels of an 18-wheeler semi-truck also heading south. He was a planner for the Transportation Department's Complete Streets program, which redesigns roads to make them safer for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. He was a dedicated public servant committed to making Chicago's streets safer and more accessible. O'Neill helped install over 1,000 bike racks throughout the city, so it's especially tragic irony that he lost his life on a bike and suffering from the same kind of issues that we deal with here. As Christina Whitehouse of Bike Lane Uprising said, that center of Halsted is a high crash corridor. Cyclists have few options, and painted bike lanes don't stop anything. And I think that we've seen that here. The most notorious section is down on the street, which is Church Street. And this is a picture I took a few months ago, which is my favorite picture on Church, which has 4 cars parked in the tow zone of Church Street. Gabe shot a video last week, which I think really captured part of the serious problem of this, where he saw a truck loading in that tow zone area. There was a police officer in a squad car. He asked him to ask the truck to leave, and the officer said, "Would you rather have him block the street?" Well, as you can see from this picture that I shot today, it's not very hard to get an illustration of somebody blocking that lane. You could park here. You could be in this lane, right? You don't have to be parking in here, but it just shows how cars are prioritized in our community, and cyclists are the lowest rung in the ladder. And you can see what the options are for people, for cyclists who encounter this, that they have a choice of either going on the sidewalk, which you don't want to happen, or in the street. And this is where accidents will occur. So if you haven't seen, I sent you guys a link to that video. If you haven't, here's a QR code for you. But it's really very striking. And what we really want is I know fines are great and painted are okay, but we need bollards now, and we need permanent protected bike lanes as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Gabe Weiss.
So I want to thank Scott for sharing the video with you guys. I didn't actually prepare. I usually write something to say to you guys. I've been doing a lot of filming. I've been staying on top of a lot of activism and hearing about Riley's crash. It's been a lot to process just as somebody who's an activist as well. I thought I'd just come. I made a few notes. I brought my son Malcolm with me. They just finished 7th grade. I didn't ask them to prepare anything. I figured we're done for the summer. Just to stand with me is enough. But we built a bike together last summer, and they've been riding to school basically every day. We rode here. As long as it's not icy, they're on their bike riding to school. They're riding to the library. They're riding to meet friends. They're going to bookends and beginnings all around town. And it's really these safe, protected lanes that let that happen. And for me too, I commute to work. I'm a general contractor here. I load all my tools on the front of a cargo bike, and thanks to our infrastructure, I can get just about anywhere in Evanston, but it's not always easy when there's a truck in the way, and completely didn't pay attention to my notes. But so Bike Lane Uprising started in 2017. There have been 25,755 Evanston reports since then. That's 7.8 per day, and that's people who took the time to stop, take a photo, and upload it. I'm sure over 90% of the people just ride right around and have their own opinion about it. But we know what to do. We know we can build safe, protected infrastructure. We've done it in some places. Sheridan, for example. Thank you, Mayor Biss, for meeting us and taking a photo. That's really helpful. You're in the video, actually, the most recent one, with that photo. And we got an example, actually, this last it was a week or so ago for the Evanston Transit Alliance Community Bike Ride, Tuesday night at Fountain Square. Downtown Evanston, they were giving, I'm blanking on his name right now because I'm nervous. Andy Vick, he was giving his announcement, and we all heard a crunch and turned, and a truck had crashed into the cement bollards that protect Fountain Square. It didn't run over any of us. It was stopped before it did, and we just didn't look like anything serious, just a little bit of a fender bender, but we were all fine because there was physical barriers protecting where we were all standing in the square in the middle of downtown. That stretch of Church and that stretch of Dodge, like by Valley, there's tons of places around town we can identify that could get a simple parking block, a Jersey barrier, a cone, an orange cone. I was being a bit facetious when I sent that picture to you guys, but a simple cone will stop somebody from entering a bike lane. And the police. I've had a long history of police with various accidents. I don't want to get into it now because time is running out, but they don't clearly really want to spend that time doing that, and a physical barrier takes that job off their plate. It's always there 24/7, and they don't have to be around to do it. And I've sent some construction emails. There's been some 311 stuff. We'd really like to see some consideration when the construction goes in. The eastbound traffic for the construction on Church, there's a westbound bike lane there that's got no sign saying that you can't use it. I almost drove head on into traffic the other day, so thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the in-person portion of today's public comment. We move on to the online public comment, beginning with Mary Rosinski, who'll be followed by Tricia Connolly, and then Elliot Oates.
Okay. Hi, thank you very much. I wanted to talk about the proposal on the housing circuit. That's not the tax circuit breaker program. It resembles it, and I'm a little bit confused by it, why it would be coming out of. I'm just confused why Alderman Byrne, with all due respect, I think you want to maybe have the same outcome, and that is to help preserve home ownership, Black home ownership, and long-term ownership in our community because it has declined so much. So I'm disappointed that we're not working with the tax circuit breaker program, which actually prioritizes home ownership as a primary way for families to build wealth and stability. We have a lot of emergency assistance programs, I think, at the housing at one point in one of the studies, we said there's 31 different programs for that, but there's nothing specifically that helps homeowners and their taxes. And in the circuit breaker program, there seemed to be specifics that had to be met. And so I just really wish I hope you will combine those two programs or develop the circuit breaker program to be acceptable, and let's keep our home ownership because it's declining, and we need to keep our long-term homeowners here. The second thing, I happen to agree with what Scott was talking about with the bike lanes, and I think part of the problem also is when we're planning the new buildings, when we're all of this, we need to be sure that because trucks and cars do exist in Evanston, that all of these buildings have pull-off areas. Otherwise, we are always going to have that horrible problem of parking in the bike lanes or parking in the street. And that's dangerous for everybody. And then the last question I had was directed to Mayor Biss, and I'm wondering if you will clarify or commit to whether or not you will resign in time enough to allow the voters of Evanston to elect their next mayor rather than have to wait to 2029. So that's all I need to say. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Tricia Connolly, who will be followed by Elliot Oates.
Good evening, Tricia Conley, Second Ward. To lift off of what Mary Rosinski was saying, Mayor Biss, on behalf of the Evanston community, will you please give us a definitive, specific answer whether or not you plan to step down before the results are in for the November 2026 election? That is the congressional election. Stepping down by this time will then trigger a municipal election for mayor in Evanston for April of 2027. This is what the Evanston community deserves. Please tell us tonight specifically when you plan to step down. On another matter, I was surprised, as I'm sure many were in the 2nd and 5th wards, to get an email on Friday saying there was going to be a bulk pickup in the 2nd and 5th ward this weekend, including today. Two things. It's difficult to take advantage of this with little notice. And I'm wondering why this is occurring, as we just had waste rates go up and we're told that now we would be calling 311 to get bulk pickup. I realize this is occurring in some wards for Northwestern students, and Northwestern is picking up the tab. Is that happening in the 2nd and 5th ward? Or are we looking at yet another charge in the City of Evanston budget? Please explain that to us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Elliot Oates.
I'm a 6th Ward resident also here to talk about bike lanes. I agree that with Gabe that we need a better solution than just hoping the cops, the police tell people that they are not allowed to park there and properly ticket. I think especially on the busy downtown streets, having stronger protective barriers is an important part of making sure that we have preventative measures instead of just reactive measures. That's all.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment for this evening. We move now to special orders of business. Oh, wait. Let's continue on our practice. Let's figure out what's going to be removed from the consent agenda and then approve the rest of the consent agenda before the special orders of business. The first item on the consent agenda is M1, approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting of May 11th, 2026 and May 26th, 2026. Now, Councilmember Kelly, would you care to read the ANPW consent agenda?
Sure. The first item is A1, Resolution 121R26, approval of the City of Evanston payroll and bills list. Item A2, Resolution 106R26, approval of contract award with ALFA Chicago for Levy kitchen remodel. Item A3, and I'll pull item A2 with a couple of questions. Item A3, Resolution 116R26, R26, approval for engineering services for the Service Central Electrical HVAC improvements with Enercon Ltd., Grumman Buckus Associates. Item A4, approval of an agreement with Horror Construction for the CIPP Sewer Rehabilitation Contract B. Item A5, Resolution 119, R26, approving the Evanston Arts Council fiscal year 2026 Cultural Fund Grant recommendations. Item A6, Resolution 120, R26, approval of single-source one-year renewal of Boxcloud storage platform subscription from Carasoft Technology Group. Item A7, Ordinance 46026, amending Section 1011.5D, Schedule VD of the Evanston City Code, four-way stops. And item A8, Ordinance 48026, amending Title 10, Chapter 6, Section 1, Towing and Impoundment of Vehicles, Definitions, and Title 10, Chapter 6, Section 2, Towing and Impoundment of Vehicles, Authority to remove vehicles tow.
Let's remove that one, please.
Yeah, A7 and A8 will be removed.
7 and 8.
And so that means A2, A7, and A8. Are there any further A and PW items to be removed? Seeing none, there's just one planning and development item, PD1, Resolution 20-R-26, approving a plat of subdivision for 1805 Church Street, 1708 Darrow Avenue, 1710 Darrow Avenue, and 1811 through 1815 Church Street. Would anyone care to remove that? Seeing none, now on the Human Services agenda, Councilmember Hadakatis.
All right, HS1, Resolution 103R26, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with General Medical Devices, Inc. for purchase of 30 automated external defibrillators, AEDs, for the Evanston Police Department. HS2, Ordinance 34026, adding Title 3, Chapter 36 to City Code concerning the regulation of electronic product promotion sweepstakes kiosks.
I would ask that to be
It
removed.
needs to be removed. And HS3 should also be removed. Ordinance 47026, enacting new subsection 95810 of the Evanston City Code prohibiting electronic product promotion sweepstakes kiosks.
So items HS2 and HS3 are both removed. If no one wants to remove item HS1, we'll now move on to the Rules Committee agenda. There are two items here, Resolution 105-R-26, Rules and Organization of the Evanston City Council, and Ordinance 45-O-26, amending Title 1, Chapter 5, City Council, and Title 1, Chapter 6, Mayor. Any removals there?
Let's remove R1 and R2.
R1 and R2 are both removed. That ends that discussion for us. There's only one HCDC item, Ordinance 19-O-26, creating Title 5, Chapter 3, Section 13, preventing algorithmic rent fixing in the rental housing market. Any removals there? Seeing none, we now move on to the Finance and Budget Committee. Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you. Item FB1, Resolution 113R26, approval of Finance and Budget Committee recommendations for Evanston Tax Increment Finance TIF districts.
I'd like to remove that one, please.
So the removed items are A2, A7, A8, HS2, HS3, R1, R2, and FB1. Is there a motion on the rest of the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I will move the rest of the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilmember Newsman moves approval of the consent agenda with the following items accepted: A2, A7, A8, HS2, HS3, R1, R2, and FB1. Councilmember Harris seconds. Seeing no discussion, would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Iles.
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly. Councilmember Harris.
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and the consent agenda with the 8 items previously enumerated is adopted. Now on item SP1, is there a motion?
I will move item
So moved.
SP1. I'll second then.
Councilmember Burns moves to have a discussion on this property tax relief concept. Councilmember Hadakaris seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'm so sorry. Councilmember Burns.
Sorry about that. So I was gonna table this to the HCDC committee, but as I've said before, to try to frame this out, there are the circuit breaker program, the alternative that I propose. These are framed as more longer term solutions to provide property tax relief in a much more broader and robust way throughout Evanston. What this proposes is not that. We still need to have that discussion, and I believe at our next meeting we'll be talking about the strategic housing plan, work plan, and potentially putting together task force or working groups with subject matter experts in order to dive more into those types of long-term initiatives. What this is a revival of an issue that was discussed long before strategic housing, long before circuit breaker, long before all of it. In 2023, we discussed expanding the existing emergency assistance program to allow property tax relief as an eligible expenditure. And the only reason why, as I've said before, it wasn't sent to City Council as a recommendation was because staff believed that the source of funds wasn't appropriate, the General Assistance Fund. And so we kind of held it there. As I've said, now that it seems like there is support to move forward with Emergency Assistance Fund, and considering the amount, the $100,000 amount, while we work on more longer term solutions, we have something right in front of us that we can advance that can help people that are truly in emergency situations, and it wouldn't require us to create anything new. We could expand what already exists. This program already supports people with mortgage assistance, and this is why we discussed it in 2023, because as I was able to help someone connect with our health department to get mortgage assistance relief. Someone else reached out many months later about property tax relief, and I found out at that time that they weren't eligible, which was confusing to me. And so again, this is just simply expanding an existing program to allow for property tax relief. It's something we should already be doing, and again, we can spend the time needed to discuss something more long-term. Happy to make that motion now, but if anybody else wants to speak to this issue, I'll hold.
Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, Councilmember Burns, you're intending to refer this to HCDC?
Yeah, I talked to Councilmember Davis earlier, and she had two, things that she wanted to bring up, which I'll let her describe in a second if she wants. But I know one of them was that she wanted to see it discussed at HCDC, which I'm happy to do that. So I'll be tabling it, making a motion to table it to HCDC.
I would be happy to support that or second that motion when you make it. As I have expressed when we talked about the circuit breaker, some concerns about our strategic approach to the Housing for All initiatives. And I had concerns with circuit breaker in terms of how it was drafted and the fact that it wasn't being considered as part of a holistic strategy. I have similar concerns for the item in front of us this evening. And I do think the appropriate course of action would be a discussion at HCDC and maybe then eventually Human Services Committee to make some, strategic recommendations and give us some priorities on how we want to use our limited funding to support the various initiatives in Housing for All. And if those recommendations include circuit breaker or include something like this emergency assistance, I think that would be fantastic. And I'm looking for that kind of strategic, thoughtful approach rather than just an ad hoc kind of one-off approach. So if that's the intent of moving this to HCDC, I would support that. Thanks.
Councilmember Kelly.
I'm glad to see circuit breaker back on the table. I do have many comments about this, but I'll save those for the HCDC committee when it goes there. Thank you.
At this time, no one else is asking to speak. Councilmember Burns, would you care to make your motion?
Yep, make a motion to table this item to the next HCDC committee meeting.
You mean I think you're intending to make a motion to refer this item to HCDC.
Sorry. Yeah, I meant to making a motion to refer this to the next HCDC meeting.
Second.
Councilmember Burns moves to refer this item to the Housing and Community Development Committee. Councilmember Nusma seconds. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton? Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and the item is referred to HCDC. Now on item A2, Councilmember Kelly, do you have a motion?
I'd like to move item A2, Resolution 106R26, approval of a contract award with ALFA Chicago Incorporated for Levy Kitchen Remodel bid 2629.
Second.
Councilmember Kelly moves approval of Resolution 106-R-26. Councilmember Nusma seconds. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Kelly.
I just had a question. I was looking through this for the legislative history. When did we vote in council to issue a bid on this, to issue an RFP? Or was this in committee, or how did this?
Members of council, my name is Laura Biggs. I'm the city engineer. So this project was designed in-house. There was a small contract to get that was under $25,000 for assistance on items that we can't do in-house, like MEP. But it was in the budget. After the budget approval, we started working on it, and you have not seen any items for approval since then. This is the first thing, because the design was done all in-house.
Okay, so, but I mean, don't we normally vote to approve an RFP? Or are you saying that this amount is in our 2026 budget for a kitchen rebuild?
From previously, and sometimes still, when we don't have the availability of time in-house to completely do the design ourselves, we issue a request for proposal for consulting services. But in this case, we self-performed all of the services we would normally send to a consultant. So the city council did not need to approve anything once the budget was approved in the 2026 budget.
Okay, thank you. So just so I'm clear, so if I were to go through the 2026 budget, I would see 250 or 300,000 line item to remodel the kitchen?
Yes.
Okay. That was approved in the 2026, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Yeah, thanks. And Laura, I don't know if this is a you or Audrey question. In committee, it was mentioned that the kitchen allows us to use this as a cooling and warming shelter. What is our city capacity? And
I will defer that question to Audrey.
Good evening, Audrey Thompson, Director, Parks Recreation. So your question is about what is our capacity for a shelter for the Levy Center?
Yeah, well, like the language in the memo is to expand programming options and permit the facility's use as an emergency shelter. Mm-hmm. Michael Callahan said in committee that emergency shelter would mean for heating, super cold weather, super hot weather.
So I think that was Laura's comment regarding the shelter. I do know that right now, I want to clarify that we do not actually rent out the kitchen for services. It is included because the kitchen is so subpar that to add on a cost for it would not be appropriate.
Okay.
And so just to give you some idea, we would never rent out the kitchen to cook a meal, but we do need the kitchen for individuals to be able to warm when they have a rental. So that could be a wedding or anything like that, a baby shower, whatever. So to give you some insight, at Fleetwood Jourdain, we charge $45 an hour in addition to what we charge for the rental of the space. And that's for a gym rental. Because the capacity at Levy Center is higher than that of Fleetwood, we would charge a higher amount. So we're looking at between $55 and $60 per hour for the kitchen rental. So that would be used then to warm food and then also to prep food. Right now, the kitchen is in really terrible shape and there's no way to do any of that. So we do not charge in addition for a rental for the kitchen. As far as an overnight shelter, we are not at a place that we can use it also because of the kitchen, because in that event that we would need to use the kitchen for overnight, we would have to cook, and it is not in a place that we'd be able to do that.
Okay.
At least that's what we would hope.
You're talking about emergency
shelter.
Like weather-related?
Overnight,
emergencies?
yes,
Okay.
for emergencies related to weather.
But like presently, when we have super hot weather and we offer...
That's just
cooling
really warming and a cooling center, and that's just doing our regular hours. And so when we're working with the American Red Cross and they want to designate an area as a place that would need an overnight shelter, we would not be able to use the Levy Center for that at this time.
But what facilities do we have that we could use for that? Any?
Well, we could use Fleetwood and we could use Robert Crown.
Okay.
Little different. Robert Crown is a massive undertaking as far as opening it up for an emergency shelter. So because of the way that the Levy Center is shaped and the way that, it's small, it's one story, it would be easier staffed than to staff the Robert Crown Center for something like that. You also have more parking at Levy Center, whereas at Fleetwood, if you're doing it overnight for any American Red Cross, it would be more difficult for Fleetwood, and it would be easier at the Levy Center.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Councilmember Rogers.
No, my question was answered. Thank you.
At this time, no one is asking to speak for first time, so we go back to Councilmember Kelly with 4.5 minutes left.
Just a quick question. Is there any chance that we may generate funds from the kitchen through, like what you've been doing such a great job on with the Parks and Rec food coordinator?
So the only thing that we would add to the Levy Center would be more of the alcohol sales for when we are renting out the community center. Currently, we do not provide that, even though the Levy Center has a city and a state liquor permit. We do not because of the capacity of the kitchen. So we really don't have a place to store those items. It would be easier, so we could add that on for a Levy Center and add for a Levy Center rental. And instead of having outside folks to come in to do it, we could do it in-house.
So if the city should host an event there, potentially the city could also sell food there as well.
And
beverages.
receive the revenue.
Receive the revenue.
Correct. Now we are doing that outside of our department.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Would the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Iles.
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns. Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and Resolution 106-R-26 is adopted. Now on item A7, Councilmember Davis, would you care to make a motion relative to rule suspension?
I move item number 7, and I also move to suspend the rules.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we'll typically take those separately. So Councilmember Davis moves to suspend Rule 20.1 so that Ordinance 46-0-26 may be passed in a single vote tonight. Councilmember Kelly seconds. Is there any discussion on the rule suspension?
Can we also do suspension for A8 with the same vote?
If people want that, yeah. Councilmember Davis, would you accept that friendly amendment to your motion?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion before us is now a motion to suspend Rule 20.1 for Ordinance 46-0-26 and 48-0-26 so that both of them might then be passed tonight in a single motion. That was moved by Councilmember Davis, seconded by Councilmember Kelly, and adjusted with a friendly amendment from Councilmember Nusma. Is there any further discussion on the rule suspension? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll on the motion to suspend the rules for both A7 and A8?
Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns? Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion receives the required unanimous support, and therefore Rule 20.1 is suspended so that these two ordinances may each be introduced and acted upon in a single evening. Councilmember Kelly, do you have a motion on item A7? Or both if you prefer. Sorry, Councilmember Davis, go ahead.
I will move A7.
Second.
Pursuant to the rule suspension that was just adopted, Councilmember Davis moves introduction and action, final passage of Ordinance 46-0-26. Councilmember Nusma seconds. Seeing no discussion, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and Ordinance 46-0-26 is adopted. Now on item A8, Councilmember Kelly, or by the previous convention, Harris, does one of you have a motion on this?
Sure. I'll move item A8, ordinance 48026, amending Title 10, Chapter 6, Section 1, towing and impoundment of vehicles, definitions, and Title 10, Chapter 6, 2, towing and impoundment of vehicles, authority to remove vehicles. Second.
Pursuant to the rule suspension that was just adopted, Councilmember Kelly moves introduction and action of Ordinance 48-0-26. Councilmember Harris seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly? Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and Ordinance 48-0-26 is adopted. Now on item HS2, Councilmember Hadakaris, do you have a motion?
I will move approval of HS2.
Councilmember Hadakaris moves introduction of Ordinance 34-0-26. Councilmember Harris seconds. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Nusma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think we're considering kind of HS2 and HS3 jointly.
Yeah, just to be clear, the motion is introduction of HS2, but I hope you guys don't pass both because I think they're incompatible.
Right. And so just to clarify, HS2 would regulate electronic product promotion sweepstakes kiosks. HS3 would prohibit such kiosks. Long story short, I would prefer to prohibit such kiosks. So I will be voting no on the motion to regulate, and will be prepared to offer a subsequent motion to prohibit the kiosks.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
So one of the 3 locations of the sweepstakes machines is in my ward. I have surprisingly not heard too many complaints about the machines in general, more so a general confusion based on our attempts to introduce video gambling being shot down years ago. Personally, in talking to the small business owners, they're looking for, additional revenue streams. They seemed open to being taxed and regulated. And so I will be supporting this. If we do, for some reason, wish not to regulate and instead prohibit, I would urge my colleagues to perhaps rethink our ban on video gambling. I know our businesses, our convenience stores are struggling, and they're looking for other revenue streams. So that's the way I'm going to be voting.
Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you. I'll reiterate kind of what Councilmember Harakari said. I think the largest one of these is in my ward, and the one in his ward borders my ward. And I have heard only from one person about this, and that was long before this discussion occurred. Reiterating again that we are looking with our convenience stores and with our gas stations, we have kind of whittled away money sources for them. They continue to try to find new ways to make money, and we continue to sort of remove those from them. I'm in favor of regulation of these devices, but I'm not in favor of an outright ban on them. And I would second the what Councilmember Harakari said. If these are banned, then I would reintroduce video gaming as part of a way that we can assist these small business owners.
Would the clerk please take the roll? Oh, sorry, my bad.
Sorry.
Councilmember Kelly, followed by Burns.
Thank you. So I'm trying to understand the legislative history on this. So this went to the Human Services Committee, but there wasn't a final vote? Can someone clarify? Is that right? So this is not coming out of committee, correct?
Yeah. Coming out neutral.
It is? Because it looks like it's a referral from Councilmember Burns.
It was neutral because Councilmember Burns had to.
Hold on. If it's a great response, but if it could be on the mic, that'd be great.
Okay. I was in that committee hearing. Councilmember Burns had to leave early for a graduation, and so we just pushed it forward to council with a neutral recommendation.
Without an
Both
actual
options.
recommendation. Okay, I guess, so I wasn't aware that happened. I feel like I would need to, because I know in the past, at some point this came up in some form a while ago, and there was a lot of emails and residents weighing in, as well as businesses, small businesses, to your point, Juan. So I feel like I really need to survey residents and businesses before I can really weigh in on this appropriately. So I would like to see this tabled for a month so that I can have a chance to really hear from my constituents, both businesses and residents. So I'd like to move to have this tabled. If anybody else feels the same way,
I'll second.
Councilmember Kelly moves to table this item to the first regular city council meeting of July. Councilmember Rogers seconds, and I always get this, I messed it up last time after a winning streak. This is non-debatable? Okay, this is non-debatable. In that case, would the clerk please take the roll on the motion to table this until the first July city council meeting?
Councilmember Iles.
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and ordinance 34-0-26 is tabled to the first regular city council meeting of July 2026, which puts us in a funny pickle relative to item HS3. Councilmember Hadakaris, do you want to table that one along with it, or
Yeah, I'll move it for introduction, then I'll move the table. So I will move.
I think you
Can
can
we
move
just
to
move straight to table?
Yeah.
You certainly can.
We'll move to table ordinance 47-026, enacting a new subsection 95810 of the Evanston City Code prohibiting electronic product promotion sweepstakes kiosks.
I'll second.
Councilmember Hadakatis moves to table ordinance 47-0-26 to the first regular July 2026 meeting of the Evanston City Council. Councilmember Rogers, I believe, seconds. Seeing that everyone knows this is a non-debatable motion, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma? Aye. Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakatis?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris? Aye.
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and ordinance 47-0-26 is tabled to the first July 2026 Evanston City Council meeting. Now on item R1, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I don't believe there needs to be a motion. This was held during discussion, and so it would come back naturally where it was held. Is that not correct?
Sounds right. Sounds reasonable to me. Is that? Okay, the motion from 2 weeks ago to adopt Resolution 105-R-26 is now before the council. Is that, Alex, do I have that right? Councilmember Newsma.
I believe I had a motion on the floor at the time as well.
Which was what?
Which I'll resend to everybody here in a minute. I've resent it.
All right, this one. Okay. So this was just to refresh, this was the motion that says, hey, there's a simple majority if the timing of the resignation permits a special election to occur. There's a 2/3 majority required if no such special election can be held. So I'm sort of taking you for your word here, and if others remember differently, jump in, because this procedural matter was not in my mind as I prepped for tonight, but a motion was made to adopt Resolution 105-R-26, and then some other stuff with other amendments happened that was dispensed with, and then Councilmember Rogers moved to make this amendment, and it was while that amendment was still before the council that the hold occurred, so we're just flashing back to that moment in time where the resolution was moved and this amendment is before the council. And just to refresh, this is the amendment that says simple majority to appoint a mayor in advance of a special election, 2/3 majority to appoint a mayor in other situations. Just accuracy check from the Corporation Council.
Yes, that's correct.
Councilmember Newsma.
Was that seconded? I'm sorry.
It was seconded 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So the
We're now debating this motion.
yeah, we're basically what's occurring is that the hold froze that discussion in amber, and the amber has now been thawed, and we're back where we were 2 weeks ago, but rested and ready.
Right. So it is my desire that we revert to council rules as they have been, since as long as anybody can remember, keep them consistent with state law, which requires only a simple majority in both cases. So I'm a no vote on Councilmember Rogers' motion. Let me ask the mayor procedurally, how would you like to approach this? Shall I offer a substitute amendment? Or offer my motion as a replacement motion, or do we want to dispense with this one before we get to mine?
I mean, it's a free country. My recommendation would be to avoid a situation of people constantly making hostile amendments to each other's amendments. Given that you clearly don't agree with Councilmember Rogers, let's have a vote on his amendment and see where the council is and go from there.
Happy to do so.
Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, just as a reminder for the public listening, media, et cetera, this latest proposal or motion unfortunately still doesn't resolve the question of what happens if we can't reach a majority. And as I said, I would not feel comfortable with it reverting to seniority, reverting to our Mayor Pro Tem schedule, which is why I offered what I felt was a reasonable compromise, and is similar to how we've structured the committee for the healthy buildings and healthy building ordinance accountability and technical committee. And although one may think that people would be inclined to just run out the clock, that's not what happened there. I think the opposite happened, is that people realized that in order to get to work and get things moving, it made more sense to just find consensus, and as opposed to, to waiting I think it was 2 meetings, but with this, it would be 3 meetings before it would revert back to a simple majority. And so it worked there. I think it could work here. But if it's not support for that, I don't think this current motion resolves my concerns. And so, unfortunately, I have to vote against it.
Council members Kelly, Rogers, Davis.
This would be a proposed friendly amendment to maybe secure Councilmember Burns' vote. If you, Matt, Councilmember Rogers, to say if the 2/3 isn't reached, there would be an instant runoff voting, which there is a way to do that with 9 voting, if you would consider that as an option in the event that 2/3 wasn't reached. No, okay.
Councilmember Rogers, followed by Davis.
I'll defer to Councilmember Davis to speak first if she would like.
No, I'm okay. I was going to say I don't want to talk anymore.
Okay. She doesn't want to talk anymore.
Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you. I find this is a very strange situation for us to be in. First off, this is normally something that is never discussed in council, because there isn't a situation where an acting mayor is really contemplated. Obviously, we've been put in that situation this time. The thing that I find most frustrating and disappointing by my colleagues on the council is that we feel that 6 votes is a high barrier, an inachievable barrier for someone to be elected to be mayor of this city. This should be something that we should be able to do. It just speaks to the fracture that's up here, and that people are perfectly content governing 5-4, which is the right to do. But I find that very frustrating for a community like Evanston to sort of be putting itself in these situations. The word consensus came up. 6 is a consensus. 5 is not a consensus. 5 is a majority. So I just find this very frustrating to do this. I will, of course, abide by whatever the rules, whatever council decides to vote on tonight. But I would say that I would very much hope that whatever we do give people in Evanston the opportunity to vote on a mayor to serve out from 2027 to 2029 by whatever means possible. And if that means that the current mayor has to resign a little early because he does have an election, unfortunately, that comes in November, after the date that we are anticipating the county, the state is requiring this to happen, that he would take it upon himself to do what is best for Evanston, to allow the residents to vote for their own mayor to be represented. Hopefully we will have an acting mayor for a very short period of time in the interim, but that's all I've got to say.
At this time, no one's asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Kelly, who has 4:30 left.
I just wanted to clarify that what I was proposing was to secure 2/3, not a simple majority, but in terms, okay.
All right, I will take the roll. Councilmember Iles?
This is on the Rogers Amendment?
Correct.
No.
Councilmember Nusma?
No.
Councilmember Burns?
No.
Councilmember Sufferton? Aye. Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakadis?
Nope.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
With 4 voting in favor and 5 voting against, the motion does not carry, and the resolution is not amended. Is Councilmember, okay. At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Nusma with 420 left.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at this point, I will offer the amendment that I emailed at 6:27 this evening, which replaces the 2/3 in the draft rules with simple majority and keeps the requirement consistent with as it is currently and as it is with state law and every other municipality in Illinois.
I'll second.
Council member, so I just want to start by clarifying, you're referring to the first half of your email, correct?
First half, because we also
Yep.
need to amend city code, so.
Councilmember Nusma moves to amend Resolution 105-R-26 by replacing the word 2/3 with the word simple majority as emailed to the council. Councilmember Harris seconds. Is there any discussion? Sorry, Councilmember Iles seconds. I apologize. Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. I think this does mean a lot to the public. Just to clarify, so if it's necessary, Daniel, for you to step down before the election, just to be clear, in order to trigger an election in 27, you would, correct?
So the only consideration that I will be guided by is how to minimize the amount of time.
No, this is a yes/no question. You would
No, that is the answer. I will make a decision based on information I do not yet have, which is very frustrating, I'm sure to all of us, certainly myself included, about how to minimize the amount of time that the city could have an unelected mayor.
Right.
Not based on my own election calendar, based on how to minimize that amount of time.
Right.
That is my objective.
Should you need to step down in order to trigger it before the November election takes place? Would you, if that's the requirement by law, that you step down, say, in October in order to trigger an election in April, would you?
Again, my decision will not be guided by my own election calendar. It will
No,
be
that's
guided.
just like yes, no. Like, would you, if that was if legally they said you have to step down by October 30th in order to trigger an election, and therefore you won't have the results, but we know you'll win, but so would you step down if that were the case?
I've answered this question.
I don't think you have, but does everybody think he has? Okay.
All right, I will take the roll. Councilmember Iles.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. No. Councilmember Davis.
No.
Councilmember Rogers.
No.
Councilmember Hadakadis. Aye. Councilmember Kelly.
No.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
With 5 voting in favor and 4 voting against, the motion carries, and Resolution 105-R-26 is amended. Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had mentioned at the last meeting that there were some issues that I didn't think had been cleared up. I'm not going to go through them. There are 2 things that were not, I believe, that we voted on that were not included. At present time, they are advantageous to positions I want to take, so I will not be bringing those forward, and we'll be bringing those forward after the date to the Rules Committee. Thank you.
So that mystery having been alluded to, and all of us intensely curious. Councilmember Harris.
What did you say in simple terms? Nothing?
He said that he thinks there might be a error in this draft of the rules, but he kind of likes the error, so he's not going to say what it is until later. Is that fair?
That's very fair.
Okay. All right. So I'll now take the rule on the amended Resolution 105-R-26. Councilmember Iles.
Aye.
Councilmember Nusma.
Aye.
Councilmember Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Davis.
No.
Councilmember Rogers?
No.
Councilmember Hadakadis?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly? No. Councilmember Harris?
Yes, aye.
With 5 voting in favor and 4 voting against, the motion carries, and Resolution 105-R-26, as amended, is adopted. Now on item R2, which I think was introduced, so there's no procedural funny business here. Councilmember Nusma.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on, the new rules having been approved this evening, let's just clarify when they will go into effect. For the, not so much for the acting mayor stuff, that's down the road, but for conduct of meetings upcoming sooner rather than later.
My hope, in light of what just happened, is that Ordinance 45-0-26 is about to pass also. If it passes in a way that's consistent with the resolution, I will sign both as soon as I get them from the clerk, and they will be jointly in effect for the next meeting. If for some reason the ordinance doesn't pass, then I'm in a bit of a pickle, and I would prefer not to sign either one until I sign both of them because there's inconsistencies, although the ordinance is less important because most of the rules don't need to be adopted. But the plan would be to sign them both immediately so that we would be conducting the second June meeting of this year with the new rules so that I can spend the fourth weekend of June doing a lot of homework.
Got it.
Anything further?
I'm sorry. Yes. Let's continue with R2 now.
Yes. Is there a motion relative to R2?
So, Mr. Mayor, I will move Ordinance 45-026, amending Title I, Chapter 5, City Council, and Title I, Chapter 6, Mayor of the City Code.
I'll second.
Councilmember Nusma moves adoption of Ordinance 45-0-26. Councilmember Iles seconds. Councilmember Nusma, followed by Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So to be consistent with the changes we just made to the rules themselves, I will make the motion to amend city code as elaborated on in my email from earlier this evening. Again, this is the striking 2/3 and replacing that with simple majority.
I'll second.
Councilmember Nusma moves to amend Ordinance 45-0-26 as in the second half of the email he sent shortly before 6:30 this evening. This brings it into harmony with the version of Resolution 105-R-26 just passed. Because everyone has it in writing, I won't read it out loud. Its meaning is identical to what has already been discussed, but the actual language is a bit more complex. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Had my light on.
You sure did. Councilmember Rogers.
Thank you. Question for staff. We have a different amendment before us that's amending something that was a proposed amendment to the original language that exists currently in City Code, correct?
Yes.
So what are the changes that are being made from this to what was the language that is currently in the code?
I can answer that question. What I've highlighted in yellow in that email is the changes that I am making the motion on this evening. What's the other stuff that's underlined and stricken, that's already in front of us.
So that is language that is currently in, but is being proposed to be removed.
So I really appreciate you flagging this because I was just not understanding this either. There's a paragraph in front of us that's got various things underlined, various things struck through, some of which are in yellow and some of which aren't. The stuff that isn't yellow is just the unamended Ordinance 45-0-26, the thing in the packet, the thing that would be voted on tonight initially. What Councilmember Nusma is planning to change is to strike the words 2/3 and replace them with the word simple majority, the part that is highlighted in yellow.
I understand that. My question is, we have things that are crossed out here that I'm guessing are currently existing in code that we are striking. And then we are also adding new language. So the yellow that Councilmember Nusma is adding is really 2 words out of a lengthy paragraph. And what I'm asking is what all else is being proposed to be changed in this ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor Biss, City Council. I'm Liza Robertson-Young, Chief Legislative Policy Advisor. If you look at the draft of the ordinance that's in the packet, the strike-throughs and underlines indicate what changes the ordinance proposes to make to our existing city code.
Okay.
And then this yellow highlighted part is the new part.
Okay. So
So I would refer back to the draft of the
So
ordinance
we
in
are
your packet,
striking
just to
the
be
of at
clear.
least 1 year, the vacancy shall be filled by special election, blah, 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 through vacancy occurs. And we are removing the word acting mayor toward the end. And then the underlined is all the stuff that's being added in addition to what is currently in the code.
Correct. And the reason for drafting it that way is that we've been in this kind of bizarre position where our code, our rules, and the state statute all said something slightly different about how an acting mayor is selected. So I wanted to be sure we're citing the provisions of state law that are controlling, so we don't have that kind of disjunction between the different documents.
All right, because there's some grammatical things that are a little weird in here. Where state law requires the city council to elect an acting mayor, it shall elect one of its members by a simple majority vote of the members of council then holding office, who shall perform the duties and possess all rights and powers of the mayor. The way that's written, all council members possess the rights and powers of mayor, which might be a solution. We just all become mayor.
I would say if
I'm not going to sit here and wordsmith it, but I mean, the language does need to be cleared up so that it is.
I mean, I would say if you believe this to be unclear in the way you just described, there's a simple solution, which is to replace the comma at the end of then holding office with a period, and then replace the word who with the acting mayor. So it says majority vote of members then holding office, period. The acting mayor shall perform the duties and blah, blah, blah.
Do you want me to put that in writing, or can I just state that?
I want you to do neither until the previous amendment is dispensed with, and then
I would entertain that as a friendly amendment.
Oh, do you want to do that?
Sure.
Councilmember Rogers makes a friendly amendment to replace the end of the paragraph in question, the portion that currently reads, then holding office, comma, who shall perform the duties and possess all the rights and powers of the mayor until a successor to fill the vacancy has been elected and is qualified, with then holding office, period, the acting mayor shall perform the duties and possess all the rights and powers of the mayor until a successor to fill the vacancy has been elected and is qualified. Councilmember Newsom accepts that as a friendly amendment. The semantic ambiguity has been cleared up, and we continue. Would the clerk please take the roll on the Newsom amendment?
So Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton? Councilmember Davis?
No.
Councilmember Rogers?
No.
Councilmember Hedakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
With 5 voting in favor and 4 voting against, the motion carries, and ordinance 45-0-26 is amended as discussed by both Councilmembers Newsom and Rogers. And now would the clerk please take the roll on the amended ordinance?
Sorry, trying to multitask here. Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton? Councilmember Davis?
No.
Councilmember Rogers?
No.
Councilmember Hedakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Harris?
With 5 voting in favor and 4 voting against, the motion carries, and ordinance 45-0-26 as amended is adopted. So as just said, I'm going to sign both of these, and we can expect to carry out our next city council meeting under the new rules. Now on item FB1, Councilmember Rogers, do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd move item FB1, Resolution 113R26, approval of the Finance and Budget Committee recommendations for Evanston Tax Increment Finance TIF districts. This is for action.
Second.
Councilmember Rogers moves passage of ordinance 19-0-26. Councilmember Kelly seconds. Councilmember Newsma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to refer to an email I sent earlier this evening. I think you should have it in front of you, which makes a small change to the language in the resolution regarding TIF number 8, which is Chicago, Maine. And what I'm proposing we do with this TIF is keep it open until at least 2030, at which time premature termination prior to its natural expiration date in 2037 may be considered. I would like to keep this open for several reasons. Number one, we need TIF revenue to pay off existing TIF debt. That's about 2 years of TIF revenue. We will need a few more years of TIF revenue to pay for capital improvement projects already in the works. And that brings us to about 2030, at which time it would make sense to reconsider, to take another look and see where this TIF is at and consider if at that point it could be closed earlier. So I'm going to make that motion, which amends some of the header language and then replaces the wording under TIF 8 Chicago, Maine.
I'll second.
Councilmember Nusma moves to amend ordinance, Councilmember Newsom moves to amend Resolution 113-R-26, as just described, substantively extending the Chicago, Maine TIF through at least 2030. Councilmember Iles seconds. Councilmember Newsom, you still have the floor if you want it.
Yeah, I just want to elaborate a little bit more on the capital improvement projects that are in the works. And this is based on a conversation with the city engineer earlier today. We have $1.84 million worth of capital improvement projects in process, or planned, I should say. That doesn't include the Chicago Avenue corridor projects. Not all of the Chicago Avenue corridor projects is in the TIF district, so only a portion of that project is eligible for TIF funding. But that portion, along with a portion of the Chicago Avenue fiber optic improvement project, would total about $580 million. So altogether, we have $2.42 million worth of capital improvement projects. 2.42.
584,000. You said 584 million, just to clear up.
Thank you. 580,000. Yes. Sorry. Take a breath. 580,000. Thank you. Anyway, total CIP in the forthcoming years that we would like to use TIF funds for is $2.42 million. This also assumes that the $10 million plus federal grant that we have been awarded for the Chicago Avenue corridor project actually materializes. And I don't think anybody at this point can guarantee that funding will indeed materialize from the current federal administration. So to me, that's another argument in favor of leaving this TIF open to help us give us some options if this federal funding does not materialize. But we should know that by 2030, and I'm willing to take another look at this TIF at that time.
Councilmember Davis, followed by Rogers.
So the original recommendation by Finance and Budget was to close this TIF no later than, close the TIF in 2030. And it seems like the current proposal is to keep it open until 2030 and then at that point consider closing it. So I'm not sure what the argument is for delaying the vote to close it. If in both circumstances, it seems to be the case that we expect it to fulfill its major project by the end of 2030.
Yeah, it's a subtle difference. My amendment keeps it open until we later decide to close it, rather than deciding to close it now.
I don't think the question is what's the difference. I think the question is why. Is that fair, Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Because we will know more by 2030 about how we might want to use these funds. We don't have all the information now, we will have in 2030.
I'm going to be making a motion for amendment, but I'll send it and you can come back to me. Thank you.
Councilmember Rogers, followed by Kelly.
Thank you. Wasn't the original motion from Finance and Budget to close it no earlier than 2030? So I guess we're not saying it is closing in 2030. We're saying that it would be closed no earlier than 2030, which gives us time to reevaluate it. If there are additional plans that want to go into this TIF, whether it be for additional work, extending boundaries, things like that, I would say we probably should refer it back to Finance and Budget and give it a full hearing there, like all the other TIFs received. And so, you know, I can't make that motion to refer it back because there already is a motion on the floor, but that would be what I think would be the most logical thing to do. Like I said, I voted against this TIF when it was created, and it has strayed drastically from some of the original ideas for why this TIF was created, and they sought ideas for how to create this TIF. But I think with the number of emails we've received with the schools expressing concerns, obviously we're in a different situation now. I know they're making plans as we roll TIFs off, how that will impact their budgets. But I think the original recommendation that was made by the Finance and Budget Committee is the correct one that I would support.
Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, I also agree with maintaining the original recommendation from Finance and Budget. I think it's important that we set a date, a potential date, so that there is budgeting that happens with that in mind. And I think we also have to remember, not only are the schools get shorted through TIFs, through this TIF, but also our own public works and our own program here in the city. And there's no reason why, if there are projects that we can't allocate almost the equivalent of what is being removed for the TIF, if not for TIF, from the city, that we can't make a decision to allocate that portion towards whatever very important projects that you're proposing that will still need to be funded towards that. So I think the problem is, by not setting those dates, it will lack the fiscal discipline of really assessing how we're spending that money. So I would also support having it go back to Finance and Budget so that we can have a more robust discussion about it, rather than voting now to simply leave that date open. Thank you.
At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Newsome with 125 left.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Kelly, I think I heard you just say that somehow this TIF funding is taking money away from public works. Did I miss?
So when you
I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Correct. Everybody, I mean, a portion that would go to the city, a portion that goes to schools, a portion that goes, it all goes into that bucket. We get much smaller portions taken from the city proportionally based on the taxing system. But nevertheless, it's also money taken from public works. And yes.
Okay. I think I understand what you're saying. And my response to that is the projects that I enumerated are all public works projects, which we would have to do anyway, TIF or no TIF. I like the idea of keeping the TIF open so we can do these projects using TIF funding so that we don't have to impose that financial burden on the rest of Evanston, through additional debt or inevitably an additional tax burden. So these are projects that we have to do anyway, and it makes sense to let the TIF pay for them. If we were frivolously spending TIF money on bonbons and frivolous stuff, then absolutely would make sense to close these TIFs so everybody can get their fair share of that money, school districts, city. But we are spending this TIF money on stuff that we have to on expenses that are in front of us anyway. And to me, fiscal responsibility means using that money generated within the TIF to pay for that specific project so that we don't have to impose that financial cost on the rest of the community. I'll leave it at that.
At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Davis with 420 left.
Okay, I'm not sure what that means because all the tax dollars come from the residents. It doesn't matter how we're funding it or if we move it around, how we think about the accounting. At the end of the day, it's just coming from residents. I sent my amendment over, and my amendment is that I'm requesting that we don't vote on any additional TIF expenditures for the Chicago main TIF until a vote on premature termination is completed, and that we receive input from District 65 and 202. And I'm going to put out there in case, like, you know, because it hasn't been mentioned, we have received indication from D202. We expected some indication from D65, but we've also received indication from D202 that they would like us to close these TIFs and to close them early if possible, whatever we can do in order to funnel money into those locations. So while it's well received, Councilmember Newsom's point about, you know, the road projects that we have, my concern is about what we're potentially going to try to propose going forward, knowing that we have these issues with our schools and we have to look at this holistically because we are taking money that otherwise would be provisioned from the schools for these projects, and it's not in the interest of our community as a whole to just pretend as if it doesn't matter and we can't do anything about it or that it's not our problem. So I'm making a motion for substitution with the language that I just sent over, and I'd appreciate a second from someone.
So you're not proposing that as a friendly amendment, it sounds like.
If Councilmember Newsom will take it, sure.
Well, let's start there, would you? Just the last sentence is the new part.
So I'm reading, the City Council shall not vote on any additional TIF expenditures from the Chicago main TIF until a vote on premature termination is completed and input has been received. A vote on premature termination being complete doesn't mean that the TIF is terminated.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to play translator all night, but the way I interpret this is Councilmember Davis is saying, hey, Councilmember, your amendment is removing the date certain for completion because there's all this sort of stuff hanging out there. And she's saying, okay, hey, I get your point that the projects that are already underway need to be financed and that committing to a termination prior to the completion of that financing is nonsensical. On the other hand, let's not commit to any new expenditures from the TIF until we've picked a termination date. Councilmember Davis, is that a fair characterization of your amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I can live with that because we do have TIF expenses that I enumerated that will be coming up later this year in 2027 and 2028. And I think we should be able to allocate those funds without having a vote on exactly when to terminate.
Okay, so that's a no. So then
No on the friendly amendment.
So is there a second then to Councilmember Davis's newly unfriendly amendment?
I will second.
So Councilmember Davis moves to add the sentence previously described, which I will read out loud because it's made of words. It adds at the end of Councilmember Newsom's language the following sentence: the City Council shall not vote on any additional TIF expenditures from the Chicago main TIF until a vote on premature termination is completed and input has been received from District 65 and 202. Councilmember Rogers seconds. There's an absolute ton of people in line. Are y'all in line to speak to this amendment? That would be Councilmembers Harris, Hedekadis, Burns, and Suffredin. So I'll just call on you one at a time. If you want to speak to the amendment,
Mine's more to me.
okay, so we'll pass you for now. Councilmember Hedekadis.
Yeah, I just want to clarify for the public. What I took as an email from an individual 202 board member was not signed by the entire 202 board, and it was not sent from 202 board leadership. So just keep that in mind, everyone.
Councilmember Burns, were you planning on speaking to this amendment?
Yeah. I'll just say that one, we, if anything, I would want Councilmember Newsma to consider an earlier check-in, not 2030, but maybe 2028. Throw that out there. I think that's reasonable. I think this substitute motion goes a bit too far. I mean, in discussions that I've had both with city staff and also some school board members, like there's been recent conversations about the TIF potentially being used to fund school projects more directly. And I won't get into the details of that because I think we need to be careful speaking for other elected bodies, but I don't think it's crystal clear what everybody's goals are as it relates to TIF and the things that they would like to see prioritized. And I would like to allow time for those discussions to take place. And but I think this goes a step too far. But as I said, I would like to see Councilmember Newsma consider a 2028 check-in.
And Councilmember Suffredin, did you want to speak to the amendment?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Or just generally, I think what was intended by having finance and budget do this is to avoid this level of modification and discussion here. As it relates to the amendment or the underlying issue, perhaps the best thing would be to have finance and budget, District 65 and District 202 have the discussion that we're having, and then whatever comes back would come back ready to vote on. I would just throw that out there. I know I'm not the chair. We already had this discussion, but it seems like there's a lot of modification happening for something that's pretty significant and has big consequences, both just in terms of the amount of time we're talking about, the amount of money we're talking about, and the amount of other consequences or consequences is too negative. But maybe in regards to these amendments, this amendment, and maybe all of it, perhaps we should have this discussion at Finance and Budget or the committee as a whole, something where 202 and 65 are present, and I'll just leave it at that. But this seems to be kind of haphazard and not best practice.
So I think the appropriate way to do that would be to wait for the amendments to pass or not pass, and then make a motion to refer this back to Finance and Budget, as I think Councilmember Rogers also alluded to, if I remember correctly. At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Hedekaitis with 4:45 left.
So, Councilmember Suffredin, would you be open to perhaps putting this as a city school liaison item outside of, or how do you want to get feedback from the school boards?
I mean, as someone who was at the Finance and Budget Committee meeting where this was discussed and has been at these meetings, the thing that seems to be missing here is when it arrives at council, every one of these entities that we've talked about should weigh in an official way. So I don't know what the schedule is where it makes sense. I mean, I think they should happen in, I don't know what the proper sequence would probably be for city school to talk about it, and then Finance and Budget, who's already had a discussion, so we don't have to start from scratch. Take that into consideration. To your point, and to the extent possible, Councilmember Burns mentioned this too, like if we could get some sense of what the governing bodies of the school districts would like to see, that would be helpful. Finance and Budget chews through that, has a discussion, then whatever comes here for approval has been, I don't know what eyes would need to be on it that haven't already at that point. And then we're not, I don't want to be greedy, but it could be a consent agenda level thing at that point. But I think we're having like pretty substantive discussions and we're making pretty big changes on the night that we're voting on it, and that's probably not how something like this should be. So what's the next city where this would be to talk about?
I'm trying to pull that up on the schedule, and maybe Luke has, do we have one in July? No.
I think
we have a working group meeting, but not a full 202 and D65 meeting.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the schedule as well, but I don't think we're going to have another one till September or thereabouts.
That can be changed, right? I mean, you guys
Yeah.
we can
Yeah, I
figure
mean,
something
we're-
out, and finance and budget meets monthly. I think we don't want to get into the actual budget season in discussing this, but there's no like immediate thing that's going to happen tomorrow if we pass this as is or this as amended. It's probably worth like getting it right. I don't know, man. Paul, you've had to do this presentation 3 times. We did it at economic development too. Yeah, I mean, like, but so you don't have to do that over, probably. But like, I mean, doesn't it just seem like we would be better off? Maybe. I'm not saying like pump the brakes for any reason other than to get it right, but like getting this right, it seems like a good idea.
I mean, I'm open for like scheduling a meeting. I don't know how long that would take to do. I mean, Luke, do you have any sense of when we could put that together?
Thanks for the question. I think given the importance of the topic, I think 65 and 202 probably would be willing to do a special meeting this summer.
Yeah. So I don't know, procedurally, would read the room, like, would folks be okay to table this discussion for the first meeting after the joint school city liaison meeting and the subsequent budget and finance?
I mean, my just procedural recommendation would be to vote these amendments down, all of them, and then to refer it to the city school liaison committee. If folks want to do that, which I think is a perfectly reasonable idea, I think that's the way to get it done.
I want to know if there's any way that we can formally request that D65 or D202 in their full capacity, as opposed to the couple of people that they send to city liaison, can make a recommendation. So I'd be interested in the perspective of basically the whole boards, as opposed to just a couple of members. Is there any way for us to make a formal request of them?
I mean, we can do whatever we want to do. We have, we have freedom of speech. I think it's just a question of, do you want, what I heard from this discussion was the idea that it'd be good to hash it out together. I guess we could have a joint meeting of all the boards. I think that would make everyone sad.
No, I'm not saying a joint meeting of all the boards.
No, I know. I'm
Each
just
board
saying that the city school liaison committee is the body where the 3 governments work stuff out together. So that's one option. If we don't want to like have the venue be working stuff out together, then we could refer it to finance and budget and have finance and budget send a letter to the 2 school boards saying, what do you think? There's many different options. But there's many different options. But, so hold on. So Councilmember Hecate still has the floor. Are you done?
I'm done for now, yeah.
Okay. At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Kelly with 350 left.
I think what would be probably most productive and appropriate would be for this to go back to our finance and budget and ask that representatives from both the D202 and D65 finance and budget committees attend our meeting. and we discuss it with them, whether it's one or two members. But I think that would be probably most effective.
At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Rogers with 3:30 left.
My suggestion was going to be that we ask the school boards to have a discussion and then send representatives to Finance and Budget to present what their official position is as a board. And they can send their chair, their president, their vice president, their finance chair, whoever they want to, as part of that.
At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first time, so we go back to Councilmember Suffredin with 3:40 left.
I hate that I'm about to do this, but District 65 does not, at the moment, have a CFO, which could make it, whatever timeline we throw on it, I think we've got to be flexible to deal with that reality. I say this as like huge D65 user, but like I don't, there's not urgency in the sense that there's a deadline here, but there's urgency in the sense that we got to get this figured out, but we got to get it figured out correctly. So I don't know that we need to even figure, let's try and move quickly. What's your move quickly, but don't rush? But I mean, like saying next meeting or that whenever the right people are available to have the discussion, that's when this needs to happen. And hopefully these leaves are still green on these trees when that happens.
And you're speaking about literal leaves.
These actual leaves. I'd like to get this done, but
Yeah.
I think it's like foolhardy to say this school liaison meeting in July, finance and budget meeting in August.
Yeah, I mean, if I could just, I think there's nothing but great ideas being floated here. What I think this body ought to do, if y'all want to pursue one of those ideas, is vote these amendments down, and then somebody makes a motion to refer this either to Finance and Budget or to the City School Liaison Committee, depending on what you prefer, and then that body gets to work. And particularly if it is the Finance and Budget Committee, getting to work means communicating quickly with the school districts to figure out what it takes to get the information that's needed from them. But I don't know that we need to go into further detail than that at this time. Speaking of at this time, no one is requesting to speak for a first or second time. So we go back first to Councilmember Hadakaitis with 3:45 left.
So just for everyone's point of reference up here, who's on council, so the D65 City Working Group, we met on the 4th last week, and we're going to meet on the 18th. So we can definitely bring that up then. I think it does make sense for each of those boards to have a discussion and weigh in on this. I think I like the idea of tabling this until we have more information from them and like an official stance from each. So however we make that happen, and I don't know if we can withdraw motions and just move to table, table as is. So if someone wants to make that, or I can make that, I motion to table the discussion.
And Chair,
as
my
is.
hand is up. I'm sorry. If I can.
After we hear.
Well, Councilmember Hadakaitis.
I'll defer to Councilmember Burns.
Do I have the floor, Mayor?
You do not.
Okay.
Although interestingly, now you do, because no one is requesting to speak for a first time, and so we go back to Councilmember Burns with 3:45 left.
Yeah, and sorry for interjecting in that way. I think the way the order should have went, I should have spoke before Councilmember Hadakaitis. This is my second time, I believe. But I would, whether it goes to finance and budget, I think is up to the group. I would only support a motion that either sent it to both finance and the city school liaison or just city liaison. I'm open to either one, but I do think the city liaison committee is a better is an important, I'll say, venue for this. I think finance and budget will add something, but I think it's important that it go to the city liaison committee.
It's important to know that finance and budget did this already.
At this time, no one is requesting to speak for a first or second time, so we go back to Councilmember Kelly with 3:30 left.
So I would support having this go to, if we were to remove the amendments and have this go to a mess, whether it's the City School Liaison Committee to begin the conversation, but I still think it's really important since this is from Finance and Budget, and it's a consideration of Finance and Budget for the schools. I think we need that focused discussion. The City School Liaison Group is very large, and I don't think you would get that sort of same focused exchange and dialogue that I think we need. So I do think we need to have representatives, and however it gets there, come back to Finance and Budget to tell us what their position is. I would, support Councilmember Rogers' proposal.
At this time, there's no one asking to speak for a first or second time, so we go back to Councilmember Nusma, whose time has expired, so I'd ask you to keep your comments brief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I don't think having a substantive discussion at council is out of line because not every council member is on finance and budget. And so those council members who have portions of TIFs who are not themselves on that committee should be, allowed to weigh in appropriately.
You were there. You didn't.
Councilmember Nusma has the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also, when we bring the school boards into this conversation, if I'm putting myself in their position, they're going to say, sure, close the TIFs, give us the money. That's probably what I would do if I were them. And this gets back to my earlier point, from the perspective of an Evanston taxpayer who's paying for the city of Evanston, District 65, and District 202. If we take some money out of the city of Evanston pocket and put it, give it to the school districts to make their lives a little bit easier, it just makes our life a little bit harder. And there's no net gain to the community. And so I appreciate and acknowledge the perspective of council members who are advocating for premature closure of TIFs, that we're doing this because we are looking out for school districts who need help. And the school districts, having a strong and financially viable school district
Could I just ask you to bring your comments to a close?
Is important to the city of Evanston, therefore important to me as well. But I find this whole exercise a bit of a performative one, because we are not spending TIF money frivolously on jelly beans and rainbows.
All right. At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first or second time, so we go back to Councilmember Davis with 2:45 left.
Yeah, Councilmember Nusma mentioned that all of the council members were unable to weigh in at finance and budget, and that is why it is important that we have substantive discussions at council. And I would say that I agree, and it's also why I think that we need to make sure that we have the entire boards of D65 and D202 weigh in, as opposed to the couple of members from each committee or board that are on the city school liaison committee. So I agree with the sentiment, and I do think that we need to make sure that we're hearing all of our elected officials and everyone, all of our major stakeholders.
At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first or second time, so we go back to Councilmember Sufferton with 2:35 left.
Yeah, I'll just say, look, I'd love Chicago having a bike lane to happen, but it's not more important than public schools. 2 just closed on the last day of school. You can call them bonbons, jelly beans, rainbows, whatever you want, but what's best for the community isn't necessarily having CIP money stashed in TIF districts, and that's a discussion that needs to happen. And we can have a full discussion when we get to council, but everybody who's on finance and budget had a chance to weigh in, including you. You didn't. You waited till we got here, and now here we are having this discussion. And I think it, I'm not even gonna say formative. I'll tell you what I think it is, but I'm not gonna do it in the microphone. I'll talk to you after this, but this is bogus. And the TIF money that, of course the schools are gonna say, give it to us. And of course the council members who have TIFs in their ward are gonna say, keep it in my ward. Our job is to figure out what's best for the entire community. And we're not doing that here. We're just having a pointless discussion. So let's have all the information Finance and Budget should look at it again after the schools have weighed in, and then we can have a full discussion at council, but the way we're doing it is just ridiculous.
Okay, so the motion before the council is, obviously. At this time, no one is asking to speak for a first or second time, so we go ahead to Councilmember Burns with 3:05 left.
I said earlier, I think we need to be careful speaking for other elected bodies. I also think we need to be careful trying to diagnose issues as if we're experts on it, because the reason why, in my opinion, since opinions are being offered, the district is dealing with closing schools is because of low student enrollment. It's not because of TIFs. It's likely because of high cost of living in Evanston, which we discuss how to address in most of our meetings. And so I'm actually of the opinion that a discussion that it would be beneficial to discuss this with the districts, not because I think they won't understand it or vote against it. I think the opposite. I think they understand that this is not a taking. A taking is when you have to give something up without consent. The taxing entities have to vote in order for TIFs to be approved, expanded, extended, et cetera. I think they understand, as I said earlier, alluded to, there are things being discussed by some board members now about Chicago, Maine, as one example, going towards supporting a direct school improvement that is a priority of the district, as I understand it. And so I think there's a lot more that needs to be discussed. As I said, I think the City Liaison Committee is the right venue for on where this should go next. I think if it needs to go to Finance and Budget Committee after that, that's fine. I mean, assuming we want to, get the input from the school districts, I think the City Liaison is already set up in a way that is more collaborative and than what some of our other committees provide. And so I think the next stop, if we decide to go in that direction, is there. And then if we want to take it back to finance after that, I think that's appropriate.
Okay. The motion before the council is the Davis substitute motion. And again, once the amendments are dealt with, then a motion to refer this somewhere else would be in order. And it sounds like there's a tremendous amount of support for some version of that. But let's first, would the clerk please take the roll on the Davis substitute amendment?
Councilmember Iles?
No.
Councilmember Newsma? No. Councilmember Burns?
No.
Councilmember Sufferton? Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Rogers?
No.
Councilmember Hedakaris?
No.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
With 2 voting in favor and 7 voting against, the motion fails. And so the Newsma amendment is not substituted for the Davis amendment. Now would the clerk please take the roll on the Newsma amendment?
Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton? No. Councilmember Davis?
No.
Councilmember Rogers?
No.
Councilmember Hedakaris?
Nope.
Councilmember Kelly? No. Councilmember Harris?
No.
With 3 voting in favor and 6 voting against, the motion fails, and Resolution 113-R-26 is again not amended. Now a motion to refer this somewhere else would be in order. Would someone care to make such a motion? Councilmember Councilmember Burns was first. Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, I make a motion to refer this item to the City Liaison Committee and then to Finance and Budget Committee after that.
Second.
Is that double referral motion in order, Alex?
Yes, and I believe we did one earlier.
evening.
So the motion is made to refer this first to the City School Liaison Committee, then upon resolution there to the Finance and Budget Committee. Councilmember Burns makes that motion. Councilmember Harris seconds. Councilmember. Okay. Councilmember Burns, you still have the floor if you want it. You don't need to use it.
I'm sorry, I made a motion. Was it seconded?
Yep, it was seconded by Councilmember
Okay.
Harris.
All right, no, I'm good.
Councilmember Davis.
I would like to make a motion to formally request this, that the school boards weigh in, and I'm wondering if that, like, the proper way to do that. So do I request that we add it on to the current motion? Can it be made as a separate motion after this?
I don't have any idea. Let me go
I mean, I'm
first.
happy to chair add it on. I mean,
go first to the
I think we
Corporation
can do
Council.
it.
Alex?
Okay.
I think we can ask, but I don't think we can mandate that it go there. We don't have control over their agendas or anything. So we can certainly request that the boards review it, but I just hesitate to suggest that we mandate it.
I'm asking a procedural question, though, which is what is it? I mean, to me, a motion to refer something to a committee is a motion that's in order, it's in the Roberts rules, it's in the rules. A motion to ask a different government body for, like, it just seems like that's not a motion made here. It could be a letter somebody sends. I'm happy to sign on to that letter, but I'm not sure what it would mean to do that in the form of a motion as a part of this discussion. But if I'm wrong, tell me. You often tell me I'm wrong, and it's always better for the world when that happens.
No, I agree with you. I don't think it's in order. I think we can just, if the city desires, write a letter.
Councilmember Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to suggest, since the school city liaison committee is a more informal thing, I think they can discuss that without having anything official. I would be willing to officially invite representatives from those boards to finance and budget or to weigh in on that. If they choose not to, that is their prerogative, but we can at least extend the invitation to them at finance and budget.
I think it's a great idea, and I think, as chair, for you to do that is, first of all, I think it sends the right collaborative message with the school boards, but also I think it will have the outcome that we're all looking for. So, okay. Would the clerk please take the roll on the motion to refer this to the two committees previously enumerated in sequence?
Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Hadakaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries, and Resolution 113-R-26 is referred first to the City School Liaison Committee. That was the sequence, correct, Councilmember Burns?
Yes.
And then the Finance and then subsequently the Finance and Budget Committee. And we've already heard commentary, welcome commentary from Chair Rogers that the Chair of the Finance and Budget Committee will be requesting an appearance from representatives of both school districts for that hearing. This now brings us to call of the wards. Councilmember Iles.
I have got office hours at Hoosier Mama's on Wednesday, the 17th from 6 to 8.
Councilmember Newsma.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A reminder to all Fourth Ward residents that we are invited to an event that North Theater is putting together. This is Thursday this week, June 11th at 6 p.m. at the Winthrop Room, which is at 1570 Elmwood. And then on Saturday, the 13th, I will have office hours at 10 a.m. Weather permitting, we will meet at Merrick Rose Garden.
Councilmember Burns.
No report.
Councilmember Sufferton. Councilmember Davis.
No report.
Councilmember Rogers.
I will reiterate, or I'll just kind of join on to Councilmember Newsma. We will be doing on June 16th at 4 p.m. the Levy Center. We will be doing our version of the Welcome for Northlight. I unfortunately will not be able to be there. I will be out of town that week, so I'm also just letting everyone know I'll be gone that week.
Councilmember Hadakaris.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Kelly?
Joint ward meeting, wards 1, 3, and 7 for, about the Lakefront Protection Ordinance this Thursday at 6 o'clock at Evanston Public Library. That's all.
Councilmember Harris?
Thank you so much. I wanted to just address a question. The waste transfer bulk pickup is free of charge. That is working with the waste transfer station, so it did not cost. There was a snafu with the notification to the wards. We've been doing that at least prior to me being in the seat. So we do apologize for the late notice, but as of Saturday, most of the containers were full. I drove around. Second Ward will be having a meeting Tuesday, June 16th at 6 p.m. at Robert Crown, and I encourage everybody to attend the Juneteenth event. Thank you.
And now Councilmember Newsom is recognized to make a motion.
Pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes 120/2, I move that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding litigation and union negotiations. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act. Those exceptions are 5 ILCS 120/2C, Sections 2 and 11.
Second.
Councilmember Newsom moves the City Council resolve itself into executive session to discuss the items just enumerated. Councilmember Harris seconds. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Iles?
Aye.
Councilmember Newsom?
Aye.
Councilmember Burns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sufferton? Aye. Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers?
Aye.
Councilmember Karacaris?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly? Councilmember Harris?
With 9 voting in favor and none voting against, the motion carries. And at 7:45 p.m., the City Council resolves itself into an executive session to begin immediately in the Council Library.